Well, good morning, Liberal Kansas, Southwest Kansas, the Oklahoma Panhandle, and all other places where you tune in to get your news and views from the middle of America. This is Earl the Leader in Times on Wednesday, October 22nd, 2025. Joining me as always on the far side, Jim Rice. And we have some special guests here with us today because we have the Pumpkin Festival coming up. And so we have Jamie and Carmen here to talk with us a little bit about that. So we appreciate you guys coming in on an early Wednesday morning.
Well, thanks for having us.
Thank you.
And I know this has been going on for quite a while. What do you know how many of these you guys have done, or how often when this tradition started?
The actual Pumpkin Festival has been going on at least since the 90s. The mission has changed. At the beginning, it was for local missions for our local churches in Southwest Kansas, and sending those missions out to worldwide missions. And then at some point, and as any good church, we haven't kept good records of this, of when we transitioned from an outside mission focus to a local mission focus. But I did manage to find out that in 2008, we did raise $1,306. So I think we were doing it for the Stepping Stone Shelter. Prior to that, we just don't have it written down. So maybe someone else does somewhere. If you do, please let us know. We'll write it down somewhere permanent.
And so now this Pumpkin Festival is a fundraiser, and you've been helping the Stepping Stone Shelter. I know they've been recently going through a remodel, and I drive by that on my way in, and they've been doing some extensive work on the second floor, and so I think it's definitely a community need to have that, and I'm so glad we do, and I'm so glad you guys help raise funds for it. And so if some people aren't familiar with the Pumpkin Festival, maybe you can tell us a little bit about what happens at the Pumpkin Festival.
One thing you're not going to do is get to carve a pumpkin.
Has nothing to do with the pumpkin?
We decorate with pumpkins, and years ago we had someone affiliated with our church who raised pumpkins, and so we had pumpkins everywhere, and we sold pumpkins, and that was part of the way we raised funds for the missions we were doing. And over the years, they've just become decorative because we're no longer raising pumpkins. But really, the biggest area where we're making money would be the cookie contest. And I'm sitting next to the reigning most all-time winningest cookie basket champion, and I'm deeply jealous, and I recognize that's not very spiritual, but I really want to win the contest someday, and I keep trying, and I will keep trying until I win or I die. That's how that's going to work.
I've seen some of those baskets, and they're really well done. And so how does it work? How is it? I believe, is CJ the auctioneer? You auction these off, or tell us how it works.
It's a two-stage process. So go ahead.
Oh, okay. So you bring in a basket that has 24 cookies in it, and then I need you to bring 3 cookies in a separate baggie just to give to the judges to taste. And we'll announce the winners of the contest, and then we auction all of the baskets off, and that's how we raise a good majority of our money. But we also have a coffee shop, and we do fancy desserts because the French Church is full of a lot of avid bakers, so we always have some great desserts to eat, and we take a free will offering for the coffee shop to raise money also. And we will have the LHS Jasmine. They will be in an ensemble, will be playing to entertain us. And then we have some students, Elisa Henderson, who is the pianist at our church. She teaches at the college, and some of her students are going to come play and entertain us also. So it's a great time. You have lots of good desserts, and then lots of baskets of cookies to be auctioned off.
So I wouldn't make Jim happy if I didn't have some reference to Disney on every show, but they have a place at Disney Springs called Gideon's, and they just do cookies. And they had a cookie. It was a banana nut bread cookie that they're $6. They were a couple years ago. I don't know what they are
Probably
I'm
today.
sure
12
they're a
now.
lot more. Yeah.
But I would pay $6 for that cookie every single day of my life, because I mean, cookies ought to be their own food group. You can do so many different things with cookies. I'm fortunate to have someone who's really good in the kitchen, and she does some different cookies through the year, and I mean, that we're spoiled on that. But I've seen what you guys have done with these different kinds of cookies. This isn't, I'm nothing wrong with a chocolate chip cookie. Chocolate chip cookies by themselves can be a category. But there's so many different things that you have in these baskets. And so is someone, is there like, do you have to get reservations to come? How does that work?
Nope, just walk in the door, have your cookies in hand and have them checked in by 2 p.m. on Sunday the 26th at the Friends Family Center. And that's all you have to do. Just bring your cookies in. We have all different kinds of baskets and decorations, and just use your creativity or use your culinary skills.
So that's just north of the Light Western and 15th. If you just keep going north a little bit, you'll see the Friends, what do you call that building?
Family Center.
The Family Center, right there next to the church, and the parking lot. Pull in, bring your cookies in, and help them raise money for this. But also, like you say, the entertainment, and then there's other light eats people can get there too, right? And some other things like that, or
Mainly desserts,
Yeah.
and then coffee, and it can be come and go. If you do not want to participate in the cookie contest, you don't have to. Come get a dessert, have some coffee with a friend, listen to a little bit of music for a little while. You do not have to stay for the whole thing. Definitely come and go if that's what you want to do. Otherwise, if you have a cookie in there and you're really aiming to win, come get your cookies there before 2 o'clock, get them checked in. We have 3 outside judges, and we have some really great people lined up to be judges. They will judge the cookies, we'll announce the winners, and then CJ will auction them off. And he's entertaining just by himself. So that's always a lot of fun to see how he's going to describe the cookies and get them auctioned off to the highest bidder. And sometimes the bidding is really fierce, so it's always that's a good time.
So Jim and we're grillers, except he's smarter than I am because I've been a competitor and he's a judge.
Oh,
And so he gets to eat all
That's
the,
the easy part. That's the best part.
he gets to eat it all,
Yeah.
and some of us are out there trying to make it special. So Jamie, since you're the reigning champion, what are the tips? What is it that has put you over the top?
I think just the deliciousness of the cookie that helps.
and the precision and skill with which she decorates. She does decorated cookies many years, and they're absolutely, they look professional. And I am definitely an amateur baker, and so I'm always hoping to win on flavor because I'm not necessarily creative in my basket or the way my cookies look. So I'm hoping that I get more flavor points, because I'm definitely not getting your basket looks great points.
Well, I'll tell you, I tried to make my cookie when we left Disney, and I got that cookie to go. I tried to make that last as long as I possibly could on the ride home, but it's hard to do because it's so good. And the frosting, at one of the KCB home shows, they have a lady who's known as the cookie lady. I mean, that's my wife says, I'm going to the cookie lady, but you got to get there quick,
Right.
or else the cookies are gone. And the frosted cookies, I love those. Heather went to a deal at Kansas State for the school, and she bought some cookies, brought those back home. The best part was they were some really good cookies with the icing on them. The bad part is they were K-State cookies. That was not good for me. But I said I can eat that. That's what we do. That's what Jayhawks do. We eat
Right, there you
Wildcats.
go, there you go.
Amazing you didn't choke on it.
But no, to have those icing on cookies, that puts them over the top too. And
How do they judge those cookies? By taste, by texture, by looks, by
Yeah.
About what?
All of that.
All of that.
Size, having all your cookies the same size is something they
Oh,
look
yeah.
at, you don't
Uniformity,
think
yeah.
about. And of course, texture, taste, and the presentation, the way that they're put in the basket. Just a combination of all of that. So get points for each category.
See, which is kind of like the barbecue contest. There's taste, texture, presentation. But it's like you said, they also, like if you're doing ribs, you got to try to find all the same size in that box and that. And so you cook several racks to find 4 or 5 ribs to go in that box. And I'm sure, so you say is it 2 dozen?
2 dozen cookies in your presentation, and then 3 cookies for the judges. We have 3 judges, so they don't have to share a cookie. They can eat the whole cookie themselves.
I bet you they don't though.
I bet they don't either.
Because how many baskets do you usually get?
In between 10 to 20
Oh, wow.
on average. We are hoping for more this year. We've changed the way we're advertising, I guess, to say this year a little bit. So we're hoping to get some more baskets. We really would like to get the community involved because the Stepping Stone Shelter benefits the community. And we don't want this to be a church event. We want this to be a community event. And so we recognize the value of the Stepping Stone Shelter. And as a church, we're committed to helping the poor and the homeless. And so this is one way that we want to minister to our community and the way we feel that we can do it the best. And again, the festival is lots of fun. If you can't come, spread the word. If you can come, that would be great. If you can donate a little bit of money, that's great. If you just want to come hear some music, come on down and join us. We'd love to see you there.
And so, I've seen the photos we always have. I think Robert comes and shoots pictures of that, and they do baskets. Is it a basket, or is it up to the person that however they want to present those 24 cookies?
Let's see, last year, who was it, Joe, that brought the pumpkin that was painted blue and it looked like
Joe DeNoyer.
the Cookie Monster, and so you can do that. I think, this year I'm not bringing a basket. I've got a different item on which to put my cookies. So baskets, plates, jars, a pumpkin, keep it clean and sanitary, but we don't care what you put it in as long as it's creative.
Yeah, you can kind of theme it, whatever.
Absolutely. And that's the fun of it, to see how people's brains work. Sometimes people will put little accessories in it. If they're making cookies that would go well with tea, then they'll put maybe a teacup and some tea bags and arrange it so it looks like a little tea set. So just have fun with it. Have your kids come. If your kids want to make a basket, it's so much fun to see what kids do with that. We love to see that.
It reminds me of the Chamber of Commerce contest of the polls. And you think, well, what can you really do with a poll? And then you come downtown and like, look at what everybody did
Yeah.
Right.
with the
Yeah.
polls and all these different ideas and the creativity that comes out
Right.
in that. And I can see that same thing with this, that, and this is only Wednesday, so you have time to go out there and
right.
get something put together and think what would be fun. I tell you, I'm so, jealous when I watch these cooking shows and they get put a challenge. And in just like a half an hour or something, they got to create something, and you're like, how did they do that? And it's just beautiful, and it's just really neat. And you think, I don't even know if I want to eat that. I just want to look at it. The first thing they say is you eat with your eyes,
Yeah.
and so I think that this ought to be something that's a community challenge. Is to who in our community can put together the best tasting cookie, but the best looking presentation, because I'm assuming that if it looks good, it's probably going to bring some good money to be donated to the chamber, right? Or to the Stepping Stone.
We would love to see this event grow. We would love to see the community really get involved. If different groups within the community would like to work together to put a basket together and then enter that basket from their group, I think that would be a lot of fun. Or different businesses. Just any way the community can get involved, because the Stepping Stone Shelter really does benefit the community because it is benefiting those in need. Just the work they do with people who go through their programs is amazing. They're not just housing people overnight. They are really trying to help people get out and be productive and get out on their own again, and really give them that step up, give them that stepping stone so that they can live on their own again.
And it works. I know of a guy who was there, worked for us for a while, helped in the press area, and is now a pastor.
Mm.
And you know, you never know if it's someone you know or someone in your family or you, if things turn south on you and you know you need a place just to help where you get back on your feet. And that's what Stepping Stone does. It gives you that opportunity, that safety net, and we all benefit from that. I've been to some communities that don't have that, and you see people out on the streets or on their main streets where there's little inlets trying to, you know, just get by a day or two here or there. And we're so fortunate that we have the Stepping Stone Shelter and how it's grown over the years, and organizations like yours helping, you know, because it's not free. They've got electric bills, they've got food to buy, they've got all kinds of things to make that work. And so this is a great thing. What made you decide, like you said, you used to do missions or some work, you know, internationally or externally, and sometimes a mission is right in your own backyard.
And that was the thought process. We wanted, as a church, we wanted to minister to the community more. And so this just seemed like a really great fit for our church. We talked about it and thought Stepping Stone, didn't really think about any other way to do missions within the community. That just seemed like something we felt led to do. And so we are happy to do it. As a church, we talk about it every year and decide, is this what we still want to continue doing? Is this still something we feel led to do? And we do still feel led to do this.
And it's great that you guys are doing it, because we talk about on the show all the time, the best things happening in Liberal aren't something that our taxpayer dollars do. They're what our private individuals do. You look at Kids Inc., you know, all volunteer. You look at the Baker Arts, these are volunteers. The Historical Society, all volunteers. And this event that you guys do, Pancake Day, all volunteers. And this is something like that, you know, at this time of year, to give people an activity. And it's another thing you're doing is you're providing an activity, you know, for the public to participate and come out and have something to do on a Sunday afternoon, which, by the way, is this Sunday. So
Sunday.
4 days, you know, but 2 to 4 o'clock, you can come out and enjoy the jazz band. I mean, that's always good to listen to. And, you know, see and visit with people. You know, just getting together in a room becomes an event of its own when you get people together. And then you say, oh, I want those cookies. What are you willing to give for it? So that you're doing two things. You're going to get some good cookies, but you're also contributing to a good cause. And so it's kind of one of those win-win. But I'm sure there takes a lot of work. So maybe tell us a little bit about the organization. What does it take you guys to put this all together?
Well, we've got it pretty streamlined over the years, so it's not too hard. The hardest part is just getting the word out to the community and getting people to come through the doors. So many people think, oh, well, that's just that church's event and the church people are the only ones that are going to be coming, but that's not true. We have people all over the community, and community leaders come to this, and we just want to invite everybody to come out. And another thing, we will have some speakers there. Ty Lewick from the shelter will be talking about what's going on. So if you want updates on what's happening with the shelter and with their remodel that's going on, he'll be talking about that. And we do have a former resident that's going to talk a little bit about how it's helped them and changed their life. So if you want to know a little bit more about the shelter, come on out.
Yeah.
Just so.
Yeah, to add on to that, if you think you will be coming and it will be an hour-long speech, it will not. They will be speaking briefly. So, you know, we don't want people to think that they're coming to, you know, a 2-hour lecture. That really is not what it's all about. They will be speaking briefly, giving some updates, giving their insights, kind of giving their testimony of how the shelter worked for them.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And the shelter board, a lot of the board members will be there, so if you have questions for them, they would be happy to discuss it with you also.
And we've kind of seen a little bit of the renaissance of the shelter. They had a backyard built not too long ago. We were able to cover that, and they created a nice surface area that was otherwise, just wasted space behind that building, and then was able to fence it in, but give them a grill and some seating, picnic type area in the backyard, but also to fence it in because it is a higher trafficked area
Right.
on Lincoln and that right there. So that's been nice, and then what they're doing internally, and a big thank you to the City of Liberal, because a few years ago there was some issues with a grant, and that caused some funding challenges, and the city stepped in and helped get through that tough spot, and also events like this, so they're not just dependent on one big grant to stay operational, but that multiple ways of receiving some funding. And this is one of those ways that we as a community can help provide that much needed service that benefits the community to have something like that. And I'm not even sure if our neighboring communities have anything like that. So I think it's really unique to Liberal.
It is. It is one of the few shelters in a very large geographic area where women and children can be housed in addition to just men. And again, it's not just an overnight shelter. There are programs that help people get back on their feet. So that in itself is so helpful to the people who need to use those services.
I remember when that was the Bowles location, and I went over there a few times to visit with Tom Bowles and Grady Bowles, and beautiful office. I mean, very nice, well done, and of course they aged and moved on and things like that. So you had this really nice building right there on the corner, and I was thinking when they talked about that, I was like, how is that going to change, to do that? But they did it, and they put that in. I think I was seeing a room that's kind of like the laundry room, because I was looking up as they were clearing out. They had some stuff at a window where they were cleaning out, making some of the remodel, and they had these stacked washers and dryers. So I mean, you don't think about, these are things you need. If you're going to have something like that, you got to have a place to do the laundry. You got to have a place to eat. You got to have. I mean, it's got to be like a fully function, home for a lot of people, and that they're pulling that off. There's got to be people every day cooking meals. There's got to be people every day, helping get the laundry done. And like you said, then it's not just stay here for a amount of time. It's what are your needs? What can you do? How do we get you back engaged in the community? How do we get you contributing again and being able to get back on your own 2 feet? And that's really key. And I would say scriptural.
Absolutely. If we need to be the hands and feet of Christ, and so one of the ways we can do that is by helping this shelter.
I was sharing, Rex Petty was out of town, and so obviously he couldn't find anybody else, so he asked me. And so I was able to fill in, but talking about the story of when, we know it as the Good Samaritan, but it was just a guy walking down the street and finding someone who's been beaten, left for dead. And what does he do? But he gets that guy someplace safe and says, feed him, clothe him, take care of him until he's back on his feet, and send me the bill. And, and then what did Jesus ask that guy? He said, so who was his neighbor? And the man replies, the one who helped him. He said, so go and do that. And that's what you guys are doing. This is what being a neighbor is. When someone's down and trodden and things just aren't going well, you lift them back up. You give them a chance. And if you're not living the example, I don't know what else it would be. And so putting this together and getting the community to step in and help, but also in a fun way,
Right.
you know. And this time of year, as gosh, we're noticing the weather changing, and but you got a nice, fun indoor event, you know, and people come inside on a Sunday afternoon. This Sunday, 2 to 4, just on Northwestern. Just turn north of 15th Street Light. If you're coming on 15th, or if you're driving north, just keep going north. Look to your west side, and you'll see the building there. And it's easy to find and easy to get to. And come in and help. And so some of us are competitive. Not you, I'm sure, but some of us are. And you know, we want to win. People want to win. So obviously there's the taste test, right? Is that the main competition?
You know, the judges are they're hidden away in a back room. The contestants, you know, we have to stay away. I've joked about bribing the judges. I know
Yeah.
that's not right, so I don't do it. But sometimes I think that may be the only way I'll win. But you know, the judges are back there, and they have scoring sheets, and they are taking numbers, and they're very diligent, and they're tasting, and they're looking for the consistency. And when they come back out, you know, we really don't know the winners until, you know, CJ is, you know, announcing that for us. So
This sounds more and more like KCBS contest.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Yeah,
that's pretty
it's-
much the way that works.
Yeah. And so is it like there is just that one big winner? That is there second,
We
third?
do second and third.
So,
Yeah.
you know, you want to win, place, or show. That's
There you go.
that's what you want to be in there, you know. And also, I think if you're into that, you kind of are there samples or anything other people can get or
we have not done that in the past. Many times after the cookies have been auctioned off and given to the person who purchased them, many times people will share.
oh yeah, not me, but someone would.
Right?
If it's really a
A lot
good
of
cookie,
times-
why would you share it?
See, it's the same challenge at a barbecue cook-off because
Sure.
you're cooking and you got to get your best turned in,
Yeah.
and then you
It
know.
is.
But you'd like to say, "I'd like to see what that guy did," or "I'd like to see what that team over there did," and you know, they need to build that in is to have where all the cooks can come together and have their own little tasting deal because you can learn a lot
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and you know, what is it about Jamie's cookies that make them so special? You taste that and you're like, oh,
Either that or she's got the judge's phone number.
No,
The other.
we all know what Jamie
It's
does.
a blind taste test.
We all
I
know what
promise.
Jamie does. She makes really beautiful cookies that taste delicious. I mean, it's the whole package.
so
She
is presentation a part of it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they gotta look good. And
Have you started putting this together yet?
I have.
All right.
so do you pipe it?
Uh-huh.
You do?
Yeah.
And so do you,
Buttercream.
do you-
Buttercream on sugar cookies, usually.
and do you theme them?
Yes, typically, yeah. Usually fall themed, sometimes Halloween. I like to do Halloween cookies a lot of times because the Pumpkin Fest is right before Halloween. People can take them home and then they'll have them for Halloween evening. Or a lot of people take them to work and share them with their coworkers during the week too.
A lot of people do that. I don't.
Not Earl.
But there are some who do.
I tell
What's
you what,
my
Earl,
mom?
I'm gonna go research that banana nut cookie.
Well,
and
shoot,
see if
I
I
was-
can't perfect it. Oh no!
It
Well,
is.
well, let me tell you a little story. Sometimes I'll make more than one basket because that's really what brings the money in for the shelter.
Yeah.
And Carmen and I last year had cookies that looked very similar. And we're like, that looks like my cookie. Turns out we made the exact same cookie, brown butter bourbon chocolate chunk pecan cookies. What? And we never even talked about it.
Yes.
It was crazy.
Oh, God.
Oh, and so this Gideon's, they have a cookie of the month, and that. But you wait in line for an hour
Oh.
to go in there because it's a very small footprint on the inside. But you go in, you pick your cookies, you buy them, and you go. It's kind of almost like a a Gothic theme inside, but they always put out a little card every month of the new cookie that is that month's cookie. When we were there last time, we were eating over at a place, Morimoto's Japanese place, and we're like, we just happened to be where one of the workers of Gideon's was, and we're like, well, we were going to go in, but the line's too long, and the lady said, just come over after we're done. And she got us in, and so we were able to get our cookies, and you're limited too, because you can only get, I think, 2 per person, so that they have enough to get through everybody. But cookies, I mean, so these people have made a franchise. There's a second Gideon's now in Orlando. And so I looked them up because I'm like, I wanted to order some and get them here. Can't, because they said we can't control the quality. And if we can't control the quality of what you're going to get by the time it gets here, we're not doing it. So only way you get those cookies is to go and get them there. And and just to save face a little bit, I don't do that, but my wife does. Around holidays, she always brings a dessert tray here for the folks, and there's cookies. She does these seasoned pretzels. She does dipped pretzel sticks, all kinds of stuff. So she makes up for my selfishness by being the part of the partnership that gives to the staff and does all that nice stuff, and then I eat mine at the house. But it's such a good thing that you guys are doing this. So maybe tell us one more time when, where, how.
Okay, it's October 26th, this Sunday from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Come and go at the Friends Family Center. It's at 1650 Northwestern. And all the cookies need to be turned in by 2 p.m. That way the judges will have time to taste all of them and get them judged in time.
And then what time does the auction start?
Usually around 3 p.m.
Yeah, between 3 and 3:30.
Yeah.
And then I'm assuming like they're kind of on display so people can go around and look at them and say, I want that one. And the bidding war then will begin.
The bidding ensues. Yes.
So what's been kind of like the highest price someone's paid for some cookies?
Probably around $5.50, somewhere in there.
You're talking 500.
$550.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, many,
Not all of them go for
Right.
that price, but
You know,
that's about the highest.
many people come to the festival knowing that they're going to donate a specific amount.
Right.
And so they save that money for the auction, and then when they see the basket they want, then the bids just rapidly increase. And it is so much fun. Some people are very competitive. And, you know, any time you're in a live auction, you know, you're just seeing the hands are just going up. The hands are going up. And then you see the look on their face was, how much did I just bid? And then the hand goes up again because they're in just the spirit of the bid. It's a lot of fun.
Well, that's for 2 dozen cookies.
Yeah,
That's
2
not
dozen.
just for a
That's not
dozen.
bad.
That's,
Right.
you know,
Well-
that's a bargain.
That's another way to win. I
Yeah.
mean, there's going to be 10 to 20, however many baskets, 30, 40 winners.
Absolutely.
Come win. You can win. You know, even if you didn't make cookies, you can still win
Just
because you
stick
can
your
leave
hand
with
in there
cookies.
at that auction and leave it up until they all are sold. That's
Yeah.
the way you do that.
And I don't want those prices to discourage people. Even if you want to come in and drop a $5 or a $10 bill in our free will donation, every little bit adds up for the shelter.
Absolutely.
And we've expanded ways to take donations this year. We'll take cash, we'll take check, we'll take credit card. We're doing PayPal online also.
Oh, wow.
Make it easier for people.
So come be a part of it. Let's pack the building on Sunday afternoon, the Pumpkin Festival. And you could leave with some cookies. And even if you don't, you can leave feeling better that you helped the Stepping Stone Shelter. You got to come visit with family and friends. One thing, me just the other day, going to a different church, I said, you know, we ought to start like a church exchange so that we go see some other people from some other churches and you know, get to know one another. We're all in the community together. And this is a chance to go meet some people. If you're not as familiar with them, go say hi and go support them, because at some point you're going to ask them to support you. And so this is us helping each other and helping our community. And we appreciate the work that you guys do to put this event on. We've been talking with Jamie and Carmen from the Pumpkin Festival that will take place 2 to 4 p.m. this Sunday. And if you want to enter, it's 2 dozen cookies. Make them look good. Put them in some kind of packaging, theme it. Go over the top. Bring them by 2 o'clock. Bring 3 extra cookies off to the side so they can be taste tested. And you can be given back to a worthy cause here in the community. Did I get it right? Did I mess up?
No,
Got
it's
it.
perfect.
All right. So don't forget to do that this weekend. We appreciate you guys coming in.
Thank you.
And we've got some more news and views we're going to bring to you, and we're going to do that right after this.
Our loved ones leave an impression on us, and it's important to make sure their lasting impression honors the life they led. Since 1956, the Jones family has been providing lasting legacies to the lives of our loved ones, and that torch has now been passed to the Creekmore family. The commitment to compassion continues by offering the largest inventory in stock in the region with in-house custom craftsmanship that makes sure each piece is as unique as the life it represents. With a combined 82 years of experience and professional designers on staff, Jones Monument continues to provide affordable pricing and convenient turnaround times. They are ready to serve you from 9:30 to 5 Monday through Friday and 9:30 to noon on Saturday. Yes, our loved ones may have passed, but the memorial left behind stands as a testament to our never-ending love. The staff at Jones Monument understands that, and that's why providing monuments is more than a sideline at Jones Monument. That's all they do. Visit Jones Monument when you're ready to make an impression beyond a lifetime.
Fall off the bone ribs dripping with our signature barbecue sauce. Tender pulled pork and brisket smoked to perfection. All served with family recipe home-style sides. It's all waiting for you at the Brick House Barbecue and Brew. Open 7 days a week, your barbecue appetite can be satisfied anytime for lunch or dinner. Brick House serves full dinners, combos, sandwiches, and take-home packs. Enjoy a variety of brews on tap or a mixed drink, shaken, not stirred. Give your taste buds a treat at Brick House Barbecue and Brew, 24 East 2nd Street in Liberal. Like us on Facebook and see our full menu at brickhouselk.com. I do like cookies. And especially those ones they're talking about where they put a lot of icing on them. That's the
Yep.
best kind of cookie.
I remember years ago, when I was in 4-H, I took the cooking class for whatever that was worth. I don't remember, but anyway, I remember making some peanut butter cookies, and I took them out to the fair and I won first place. But Mom always swore up and down that the reason I won first place is because I was using the recipe out of the recipe book, and there was, I don't know, a couple of different cookie recipes on the page, and she claims that I used something out of one recipe and
Of another?
So I don't know whether that was really true or not, but anyway, I got a blue ribbon on my peanut butter cookies, but they weren't near as fancy as what these gals was talking about. I'll guarantee you that.
No, and again, I just want to say thank you to a group that's willing to do the work, provide this event, and help the Stepping Stone Shelter with the funds, and very good cause, and we're lucky to have that. I remember taking a trip to California because we wanted to see the original Disney, and the park was beautiful and everything you thought, but right outside was people living in cardboard and things like that, and I thought, how can this be California? I
Yep.
mean, this is one of the most taxed states. They talk about helping the poor and taking from the rich, and people are just living out in the streets. And there were some other people who had mental challenges, and I was like, where's these neighborhoods taking care of these people? Because I come from a community where that happens.
Yeah.
We take care of each other. And that's what the Stepping Stone was. It was a dream of people to say, we need a place to help people who find themselves in a tough spot.
Yep. Well, it's a hand up,
Yeah.
you know, and so that's the best part. We used to, when we was out on the farm, we used to have a lot of garden veggies, more than what we could eat, and I just load them up and take them down there, score some cucumbers and one thing or another. They always appreciated that, and it was a fun thing to do. But, you know, that's how that works.
So I just want to share real quickly, you know, there was a memo put out last week by county leadership to the staff, and there was a statement in there that I got to admit to me was a little bit troubling. You know, when any of us feel like we know better than anyone else, there's always going to be, you know, that's when things usually start to go bad. And there was a statement in this memo that was put out by county administration to the staff. Says, we need to recognize citizens have a duty to question how public funds are being spent and to question the process. No one wants to pay higher taxes. We are in their shoes as well as taxpayers. We just normally have a better understanding of everything because we are working in it and through it day after day. And that just rubs me and I think every taxpayer the wrong way. To say that because they work in the county that they just have a better understanding of everything. Oh, people, no one wants to pay more taxes. You know, that's just a hoax. That's just a phrase to say, I'm about to try to justify paying more taxes. But I'm going to say no one wants to do it, but we just have to do it. And they just don't understand why they have. They just don't understand what we go through, what we do. But we understand them because we pay taxes. They just don't have a clue about us.
Well, the sad part is that there's many ways we have discovered since all this started taking place. There are many ways that they could have worked to reduce that. You know, I mean, almost immediately, you know, private citizens came up with ideas and suggestions and law that said, you know, you don't have to do this all at once. I mean, you can string it out. You can negotiate it with the taxpayer. I mean, there were many avenues different than just saying we're going to increase this 13 mil because we need it.
But none of those people understand it, according to this.
Yeah, we don't understand that. And, well, I guess maybe the reason we don't understand it is because they haven't offered an explanation of why.
They don't
why
have
they
to.
absolutely have to have that money.
But they don't have to tell you because they just
Well, they
have a
haven't,
better
yeah.
understanding of everything.
Yeah.
They just know better than you. So your suggestions are because you just don't understand everything.
So
They
it's-
understand everything. Specifically, she. I don't want to put it off on staff because she used the plural. She was saying it independently. We just normally, this is just a normal situation over there. We just normally have a better understanding of everything. It's asinine. I was talking with the group last night. Let's carry this out. That taxes just naturally always have to increase, that your mill levy is always going to go up. Think about that. If you follow that out, eventually it's going to be 100% of your house. They will eventually, if you believe that taxes always and percentages of taxes always have to go up, you're on a one-way trip to socialism. You know, the only way you hold government in check is to say you have to hold the cost of government steady. Now, that doesn't mean that government today is going to cost what government did 100 years ago. But percentage-wise, it should be the same. I've looked at this at the federal government, and I've looked at this local government. I haven't been able to look that far back on local government, but even the local government is way more expensive today as far as how much it takes from you and how much it takes by percentage of what you make than what it did even 25 years ago. A significant increase. The federal government is worse. But if we keep saying that government naturally gets to take a bigger chunk, then what that means is we are accepting that we are going to end up in a socialist nation. What I mean by that is a meal this year was worth more than a meal was last year. So they already are getting more just based on valuation. So if they left the meal levy the same, they would still bring in more money to function with the just increased costs of government.
Yep.
They always say, oh, everything's up. It is. But what was also up was you got, even if you left the meal the same, you were going to get more money. But you didn't do that. You didn't just leave it the same and take the extra. The city did that. The city just said, we're going to leave the meal the same because that's still going to get us some extra money to function with next year because value's up. We can understand that. We taxpayers, this idea that no one wants to pay more taxes, that's not true. We knew we were going to get that was going to bring more money in the city. No one threw a fit about that because they kept the meal the same, which you can respect. And the school and the college did the same thing. But that wasn't enough for the county. They had to do that plus 13 mills. And they originally were talking 29. This is what I'm saying is, this is a 33% increase to the county's ad valorem tax, the property tax. And you're supposed to just say, well, that's because they know everything and I just don't know everything, so they just must have to have it. No, that's not good enough. And it's very condescending. And what we found out is that the citizens who care, they know quite a bit about the process.
Oh, they're learning more every day.
And hats off to them. And the suggestions they made that fell on deaf ears were still good suggestions.
Sure.
The next group will probably listen better. You know, just because this group has decided, the majority of it, to not listen to the outside voices, to only listen to the inside voices, that'll take care of itself. That will take care of itself in about a year.
Yep. Yep.
But unfortunately, people are going to have to live in a regime, not anything short, in my view, of communist rule. We're on day 34 of the economic hostage taking here in Seward County. And it didn't matter that people pleaded with these people to do something different. They didn't listen because of statements like this. We are in their shoes as well as taxpayers. We just normally have a better understanding of everything because we are working in it and through it day after day. And at the meeting, when Todd was talking about trying to, Commissioner Stanton, he was trying to just get them to come back together 2 weeks ago and just sit down and talk about it again. He said, you know, the taxpayers are not happy with this. And again, the hired hand, the administrator chimes in. Employees are taxpayers too. Now, that wasn't asked, warranted, or no one said that they weren't. But could I come to the meeting and just start chiming in? She is not. Robert's rules, there are 5 people, and they're supposed to be recognized to speak. Why is it that she can just chime in and give her opinion on what they're talking about on everything that they're discussing?
Well, it has to do with the chairman. The chairman rules that, maintains order. And, so it falls on his shoulders or her shoulders, whichever it might be, to maintain that order and recognize those that want to speak. And it's up to him or her to decide, if they want to allow that or if they don't. If you're not recognized, then you don't speak.
And she chimes in and has a microphone right there where she can be an active participant. You do not see that at the city. You don't see it at the school district. You don't see it anywhere else but there. And the other night was told that there was a citizen during part of the discussion who raised their hand out in the audience to say, I'd like to share. They were never
No,
recognized,
he sat right in front of me.
and he didn't get a chance.
No, didn't even recognize him, look his way. He'd already, he presented a group of questions earlier, but then something during the discussion, I don't remember what it was, but, he wanted to make another comment about whatever they were discussing at that current time, and he raised his hand, and they just ignored him.
Have you ever seen April raise her hand? No, she just jumps in. She just jumps in. And I've never seen the like. And like you said, there's just no control from the leadership to say, April, hey, if we need something or want you, we'll let you know. Because this is the only time legally the 5 can get together.
Mm-hmm.
And they ought to be talking, they're the leaders. Not me, not April, not that we elected them to make the decisions on our behalf. And statements like this just aren't helpful. And then, and you go on and you talk about, she shares that as if the staff is just shaken by this, mentally unstable. She says, I know it is emotionally draining and can negatively impact your mental health. Please remember you have access to our employee assistance program, and you can call 800-624-5544 or visit eap.lucithealth.com. And who paid for that benefit? Who paid that they can make that phone call and do that? You did. But did she say, and taxpayers, we just put a massive burden on your life, and it's probably going to cause some stress. So we're providing a hotline for you. Did she say that?
No.
Did she say, when you're laying in bed and you can't sleep at night wondering how you're going to make your next tax payment, get a hold of Lucid Health? No, she didn't say that. She didn't say that. And there's a reason. Because there is no concern for the people that are paying the bill.
That's exactly right. I didn't see a bit of concern the other night, of even the possibility of, making some kind of a different plan or anything. They relied totally on what their attorney out of Wichita had to say, and he basically said, well, there's nothing you can do, and I just don't,
Well, he said you can, but his opinion was you couldn't do it
Yeah.
until January.
Yeah.
And his opinion was that there wasn't enough time. So these guys just ran out the clock on the taxpayers and aren't even willing to revisit.
Well,
That's-
they never have been since they initiated this 13.5 mills. They never have been willing to listen or think about changing anything. It's, my way or the highway, and all the information that's been provided, during the meetings, when they get up till now, or then the last meeting Monday night, they were not willing to, consider any changes. And now then they've got us, I think, probably in a real pickle for some folks, because, they've placed a lot of these people in harm's way as I see it. Now, I don't know that makes any difference to them. It should bother them a great deal. But, when you've got people that are trying to make a mortgage payment, and now then they find out that, their mortgage payment's going to go up, they might have been paying the max then, or, if they didn't have a mortgage payment, what that effect's going to be for the additional dollars are required. Oh, it's only $100. Well, $100 might not seem much to them, but for some people, $100 is, that's a week's worth of groceries or something. And so now then you have to make that choice. So I think we've been hearing about, some some harm that it's beginning to do, but I think, you know, when the tax statements come out and people begin to see really what this decision is going to cost them, that's when the delinquencies are going to increase. There's no doubt in my mind that there's going to be a lot of, I think, perhaps protested taxes, you know, which is going to delay the system. And, you know, they've created a great big mess as I see it. And my goodness, there was so many opportunities to do different, but they didn't research what they were doing. They just listened to somebody somewhere and said, well, this is what needs to be done, and okay, that's what we're going to do. But never in the history of Seward County, I don't think, did the commission ever consider a 13 mil increase for anything. You know, I mean, I sat on that board for nearly 20 years from the time I started, and I think most of the commissions that I sat with would have fell out of their chair if they would have been suggested that, well, we need to increase taxes by 13 mil. I mean, I just don't remember that out of 20 years, but anyway, it's what it is now. It's in the works, and you will be getting that tax bill with that 13 mil increase.
Yeah, unless we get a ruling from BOTA.
Yeah.
And BOTA will eventually overturn this, and they're going to have to
Yeah.
probably do some refunds. But
Well,
this
think
is,
of what that's going to do. I mean, you think about sending taxpayers a refund and the cost and the time and the effort that the employees have to put in to do that. I mean, gosh, there's more expense.
yeah. And then, the next group will be able to come in and say, and no, we're not going to tax the people to reimburse the people. We're going to have to control the size and scope of government. And then this scare tactic that they tried to use the other night. Well, if you have ideas of what you want to cut, of what services you don't want to have, that is ridiculous.
Well, I don't think it makes any difference, because we've seen how they've listened prior to this point. So why would they listen to any possible, changes or cuts or reductions or
No.
anything then? They
They're-
haven't to this point. So what makes you think that they'll do that after come 2026?
They're dug in, and they don't want to change any of that. When I was talking with some people last night, it's like if you work in the public sector, there's no ceiling. You can just keep paying people more and more and more. But if you got in the private sector, it doesn't matter. You pick it. I don't care if it's the oil field. I don't care if it's machinery. I don't care if it's working in the food industry. You say, look, no matter how good, you may be the best in the history of ever of what you do. I'm going to do the best I can, but this is the ceiling. This is the top I'll ever be able to pay for that. And if someone says, well, then I'll have to move on, that happens. There's nothing wrong with that. You say, if you can find better than that, good luck, congratulations. But we don't seem to care about ceilings. It's like, no, we're going to keep going up. Someone did the math and told me that for this many days off, for every 4 employees that have worked 2 years or more, we have to hire an additional employee just to cover the days off of the other employees. Think about that. That's 20% staff bloat just because you get 35 days off in your second year of employment with the county. 7 weeks off. 7 weeks off. Who else, I've asked it, I've never seen anyone post on here, who else, what other industry gives 7 weeks off in your second year of working for a company? And it goes all the way up to 50 days off at the county. You work 15 years, you'll get 10 of the 52 weeks a year, you'll get 10 of them off. You work 40 weeks a year, 42 weeks a year. No one else that I know of, no other industry ever in the history of ever gives that. But I'm giving it, you're giving it, because that's what they get. The city doesn't do that. The school doesn't do that. The college doesn't do that. And I guarantee you, no private business does that. And if you do, let me know. Put it on and say, oh yeah, as soon as you start your second year, you get 23 days off plus the 12 paid holidays. So you get 35 days off. 7 weeks off. I've just never heard of it.
You have now.
Yeah, and there was a citizen. So am I the only one who thinks this is unusual? No. A citizen showed up the other night and said, this time off is unheard of. Unheard of. But they want to defend it. Now, how do you fix it? No one's saying you go to everyone and say, tomorrow your vacation time's cut in half. But you say every new person is not going to be on this chart. This is the new chart moving forward. I say, oh, you can't have, oh, absolutely you can. Absolutely you can change policies. You absolutely can. But that's what we keep hearing from this group is they'll just let me find a lawyer, let me pay them to say what I want them to say. Or let me find someone who will come up with the ruling I'm looking for. That's why they're lawyers. They're advocates. They advocate for your position. That's what they do. Now, I'm not saying these lawyers didn't look and say, this is, in our opinion, this is what the law says. I'm sure they did that. But another lawyer can tell you, well, we don't read it like that. This is how we see. This is how we say you can do it. You know, and this is what happens a lot in government, is that lawmakers say to staff, this is how much money we're giving you. Now you figure out how to work within that range. Because this is what your taxpayers said that they're willing to be able to provide. That conversation has never happened with this group. They're only hearing from the inside, and then the offer of, well, you need to come to our meetings. And why are they saying that? Because they'll say, then you won't come complain to us because you'll hear what they're asking for and you'll just buy into it. The taxpayers don't care what's being asked. They're caring for it. You have to say, this is what we as a community can afford. If that means some people want to move on, power to you. Think about our BJs. We don't want to see a BJ player play here 4 or 5 years in a row. Something's wrong. They're here to play a year or two at the most probably, and then get that second opportunity at the big leagues to move up. And if there are bigger counties with bigger budgets, with bigger opportunities moving forward, power to them. But we're 22,000 people, according to Carolyn Huddleston, paying what, $32,000 in bonuses per employee when you add up the bonus money divided by the number of workers. $32,000, and they're wondering why people are upset about a tax increase. But what do I know? I don't work it every day, so I don't know everything. I just look at the numbers and compare that. Maybe they ought to look at their numbers and compare that to the private sector. Do you think that the public sector ought to have comparatives to the private sector?
It does not hurt. It does not hurt a thing. You know, I mean, but I think, you know, right now, you know, the division between government officials and the public, the entire public, is exactly opposite. You know, they just have made up their mind, and that's the way it is, and they will not. I mean, they've refused to, you know, even consider a change after all of this. And well, you know, it's just the way it is. We just got to do it. But then when people start looking into it and asking questions, there was a list of questions the other night. And, you know, there were 2 or 3 of them that could have been answered right then and there, could have been cleared up. One in particular was, have you been talking or considered calling Conestoga to see if you could set up some kind of settlement talks? Crickets. Nothing. You know, and that was asked more than once. But, I mean, you know, why weren't you able to answer that? I mean, why not answer that if you know it? I mean, it was a short answer. It could have been yes or no, or, you know, we're thinking about making the call, or we're talking about making the call. But nothing. So what are you really doing? And I mean, that was one that could have been taken off the table, but you know, it seems like it just takes forever to make a decision on anything. And you know, that's how they got in trouble to start with, was a year ago in their budget. They couldn't make a decision, and so, you know, the RNR fell into place, and they couldn't do anything because state law prohibited them from raising the tax a little bit. So now then, this year, still we cannot make a decision. And why? My goodness. I mean, get a hold of some people, make some phone calls, call your attorney, call, you know, get a hold of the county council, get a hold of somebody, you know, and see if you can't get this resolved. But it's just so hard to get any decisions out of them. I mean, you know, to me, you know, making a phone call to Conestoga and asking them, hey, can we get together and perhaps consider, you know, working this out between ourselves? I mean, how hard would that be? It wouldn't be very hard for me. I know the former chairman, Nathan McCaffrey, feels the same way. It wouldn't be hard to do because he and I have been texting back and forth a little bit about this. And, you know, I mean, we were able to work things out. We settled the DCP payment, you know, and that's done, clear, gone, finished, over. You know, how was that accomplished? Through talking to DCP and you know, used a negotiator and, you know, our county council, and we worked it out. But no, we're just sitting here right now, and I don't understand why. What are we waiting on?
What are we waiting on? I mean, I have no doubt that the people at Conestoga, if they can get to a reasonable valuation, which is going to happen one way or another, that if they had a good working relationship with the county, that they wouldn't say, yeah, we can handle this over time, or do like what DCP did. Just give us a credit for what we've already paid ahead, and when that credit runs out, then we'll start paying. And let's agree to a number each year of that credit.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't cost us a plug nickel, because this is all new money. Why do I say that? Because, first of all, that land before Conestoga built on it was bringing in maybe a couple of $100 a year.
Pasture ground, yeah.
So they built this great thing, and now they got a 10-year abatement, so they get their feet under themselves. We worked with them on that. And now we're going to establish a value, and that's new money. Brand new dollars. That's how you keep taxes low, is we're creating new dollars. That's what DCP, they went from 20-some million to 85 million in valuation. That was new money. Now, we originally said 177 million value. And of course, that's asinine, but at least they were able to come together and find a spot in the middle, right? That's what happened.
Sure did.
And they agreed to that. And why spend, we've spent over $500,000, your dollars, just fussing.
Yeah, that's a good description. Well, I don't know. I'm not even sure we're fussing. We're just sitting here.
But we're paying somebody.
Yeah.
We're paying lawyers.
I mean, and for what? I mean, I don't know what we're using them for, because there's no progress. We're just sitting here waiting on a judge in Sedgwick County to decide something.
That's going to be appealed if
know.
it's not.
Well, yeah, I mean, either side can appeal that. So then, you know, if that happens, but why not? Why not just go to those guys at Conestoga and say, you know what, we need to get this resolved. Let's just sit down here and let's have a little group think about, you know, how we're willing to compromise and negotiate, and let's settle this thing and wipe out that, you know, that possibly another $500,000 attorney fees, You know, you can actually do things without attorneys to start with. You know, when it comes to doing the settlement, then you're probably going to have somebody write it up. But, you know, like Nathan McCaffrey said, you know, use that settlement sheet that we use for DCP to start with. For starters, take out the names, the numbers, the dates, and just use that for starters. Okay, guys, here's the first thing. You know, fill in this blank.
And you work out a deal with them that doesn't require some massive payback, and you do it over time.
Yeah.
And then we're going to wonder why were they taxing us ahead of time for this? We know why, because they didn't put it towards that, very little of it. That was just a way to push through a massive tax increase.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
got caught.
Yeah.
You got caught. And unfortunately, and I think some people like Tammy, who's good-hearted, who used to be what we would consider conservative. And she bit. She took the bait. And it's unfortunate, you know, because she used to be a reliable conservative that you can count on to hold the line on expenses. That legacy is gone. Legacy's out the window. And it's one thing that you just say, I'm a conservative and this is what I believe. That and that's one thing. It's another thing to make the pledge.
Yeah, what are you going to do? And are you going to stick by it?
And she did. She made the pledge. She didn't stick by it. But she made the pledge and then abandoned it.
Really abandon it.
Yeah.
I mean, more than we ever dreamed. I mean, you know, how you'd fall into that, I don't know.
I don't either. Because, you know,
I mean, well, you know, I mean, we've talked about this, we're wearing it out, you know, I think we're kind of beating a dead horse here, but my goodness, the opportunities for the research that was apparently never done and almost immediately done by private citizens has shown ample opportunities to make some changes and resolve this issue and be done with it and lower this 13 mil, but that was never done. And why? As you know, the more I see and the more I watch and learn, is none of this was ever even investigated, if that's what you want to call it. It wasn't looked into. There was no, well, how better can we do that? How better can we serve the taxpayers? How's this going to affect everybody? And then they throw out this 20 mil or whatever it was to start with, 29, and now then we're back down to 13. Was there ever any consideration about how that really could affect certain taxpayers? You know, there's some that will be able to pay it, but there's some that I'm telling you. And now then, you know, we're looking at, you know, housing developments saying, okay, as soon as I finish this one, I'm done. Did you consider that as a possibility that might happen because of the increase in taxes? You know, no, I don't think so. You know, did you consider that, you know, the delinquent tax rate might go up, you know, considerably? I don't think so. You know, all of those things. I mean, there's a list of them a foot long. And which one of those did you consider before you said, yeah, this is a good idea, let's vote for 13 mil increase? I don't think none of that was ever considered. It's just, this is what we need and this is what we're going to do. And taxpayers, you're going to get the bill for it. And that's what happened the other night. You know, it kind of made me feel a little bit sad that they wouldn't at least, you know, try something, but they just sat there and did nothing. No attempt at nothing. And that's my view of what went on the other night, that they did nothing.
they are looking to hire a replacement for Nathan Foreman. He gave notice as county councilor. And so the Board of County Commissioners, Seward County, Kansas, are accepting proposals to contract for county counselor / legal services to be provided for the county. Specifications are available at the Seward County Administration Office, 515 North Washington, Suite 204, Liberal, Kansas 60901, or on their website at sewardcountyks.org. And I'm looking at that and I'm trying to find that specific job. But you can come here where it says, job opportunities. I'm not finding that specific one. I'll keep seeing if I can, but I'll go ahead and read the rest of this to you. Any questions regarding specifications shall be addressed to Hillary Franco, Seward County Administration Executive Assistant. To be considered, one electronic PDF format of the proposal must be received by April Warden, County Administrator, by 10 a.m. on Wednesday, November 12th. The County Administrator will confirm delivery upon electronic means of arrival. The Board of County Commissioners, Seward County, Kansas reserves the right to accept or reject any or all bids and the right to waive any or all irregularities therein. So they are trying to find, a county counselor and to fill the spot of Nathan Foreman. And, Nathan has done that job for a few years now.
Yeah, I don't know. It's been quite a few years.
And his private practice, according to his letter, has stepped up. Plus, he said there's a lot of litigation the county's facing, and it just requires a lot of time. And I don't know. I was going to try to find what are they looking for, so I can find out. They've got county attorney, EMS, fire, human resources, road and bridge, sheriff. I don't see a listing specifically for county counselor. To find out.
Well, they might not have had time to put it on there yet.
Yeah,
I
because
think
this
that was
this
just-
actually
yeah.
runs in the
Yeah.
paper the 23rd tomorrow. So, they may not have had that up yet. I will say that I was just curious as to, are we going to look for someone full-time, part-time, on retainer? What are we doing? Because I don't want to see another commissioner get chastised by a different commissioner because they're asking questions of their legal counsel, which they should be doing on a regular basis.
Well, I would hope it's somebody locally and not some firm in Wichita or somewhere else. Somebody that can be here every day. Share an office space. And I would hope that that's the way this will turn out because, there's questions that need to be answered every day, especially in today. In the situation that they're in, I think, somebody needs to be on staff full time and available right now. And I think and hope that that's what they're looking for, and don't do some remote thing. But I don't know. It depends on who's, I guess, brave enough to apply for something like that. I mean, I don't know how an attorney looks at this. Would you want to step into something like this? I don't know. I know there wasn't anything like this going on when Mr. Foreman was hired when I was there. And we had to talk really hard to convince him that, to come to work for us. And that was just for, normal day's work. And now then you stack all this stuff and all the litigation that might be coming or is already here. There might not be too many folks willing to step into that. It might surprise me. There might be a whole list of them, but I don't know. We'll just have to see.
And I just want to, for people who think, they have hostility towards the county, let me just share, I'll just go down the list. Let's start with Tammy. Tammy and I have always had a good relationship up until this tax increase. I worked with her on her campaigns in the past. We've talked about advertising. I've had her at my house where we've sat down and gone over her ideas and that kind of a thing. Recently, when she's, let me just see here. Yeah, so Rodney Hay, that Earl owns the building that the Leader in Times is in. When these taxes were collected or due, Rod, I didn't. We just took possession of these buildings as the LLC here in August. So I inherited these taxes due, and I'm going to end up having to pay those taxes due. But they were not charged to us, I can say that. But I'm going to end up paying them. I'm going to have to. But I want to go back to these commissioners. I had a working relationship with Tammy, and when she recently was stepped down as chairman of the Seward County Republican Party, I thanked her for her service to the Seward County Republican Party at that meeting. Move over one to Scott. I don't know Scott as well, but Scott's son and I, Brad, served together for years on the Kids Inc. board, volunteers and working on that. Probably I was on the board, I'm pretty sure I was, when Brad was in Kids Inc. activities. So, you know, there's a contact there. For Persephone Fuller, I was on the pulpit committee that called her to liberal. Not only that, when she was thinking about running, I talked to her about that, and I also drove her around to show her where her district was. Drove her around. Showed her where the lines were. This side of the street's yours. This side of the street's somebody else's. So you just want to talk to these people. This is where your district is. With Todd, I served on the Seward County Historical Society with Todd.
Yep, we both did.
With April and I, our kids played ball together. We were in gyms together. We've had plenty of conversations together over the years. There's no hostility towards these people individually as people. It's a decision that they made that we've questioned.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the only thing here. And I don't have, again, hostility towards any of these people. That is just not the case at all. Not the case at all. And yeah, Rod, hey, I am not a member and never have been of WGS LLC. Now, why would I feel like I'm going after these people personally or anything? I'm not. I'm going after a decision that they've made and multiple decisions of how they've reacted to the public and how they don't allow public input. That's the concern. That's the concern. So people can make whatever judgments they want of should we question that? So many of you have said, please keep fighting for us. Somebody's got to fight for us. Someone's got to represent the people. And we've been here trying to do that. Trying to give a voice to those who are just not being listened to. And you can look at the poll. 97 to 3% of you say they should have revisited this thing. We're going to put a new poll up about whether or not you think they should reach out to Conestoga and try to work this out, come up to an agreement. But no, you cannot make this, that we just don't like these people. That's what it is. I've had a relationship with most of them outside of government.
Yeah.
Now, Steve is the only one. I've talked with Steve, but mostly only since he's been a public representative. Steve and I have never had any other real dealings outside of him being either a school board member or, a commissioner. Yeah. He's the only one. The rest of them I've worked with in some other capacity or in some other way. I've had Scott in this office before he ran, and we talked. Can't get him to respond to anything now. But it doesn't have to be hostile, but we disagree. And I will continually disagree until the people have their say. This is the people's community. The people should have their say. So you can take that however you want to, but that's what it is. And I'm not going to mince anything over that. That's the way it goes. And I hope that there's an effort to do that. We still have some time here, so we can share some of the other things that are that have been going on. I know sometimes you do some research on some things. Is there any headlines you want to make sure that we get to?
Oh, I don't know. Let's see here. There's something here that I thought, here's a little thing here that kind of will affect the farmers and certain ranchers in Seward County. I think this was on the Hill this morning. It said the Trump administration expected to release $3 billion in aid to help struggling farmers, money that had been frozen during the shutdown. Ag Secretary Brooke Rollins discussed the upcoming development. There is a really big announcement coming today, and what we're going to do to restore and revitalize our beef herd in America, which ultimately will bring prices down. Rollins said White House officials have directed the Agriculture Department to use funds from the Commodity Credit Corporation to help farmers manage break-even amid the largest corn and soybean crops. So I don't know what that announcement's going to be, but apparently they're going to make some payments available. $3 billion, that should help quite a bit, because I know across the nation, ag producers have been suffering substantially because of lost markets due to, maybe tariffs or, whatever. I think China was a big one. They quit buying soybeans, started buying soybeans from maybe Brazil, I'm not sure, so there have been some, substantial changes in market and market conditions. So anyway, but USDA is going to, Trump administration is going to step up and see if they can't help with $3 billion aid package today, so we'll probably hear more than that. So anyway, that was just something I thought was rather interesting. There's a lot more to that story if you want to. I think I found that the original story was off the press this morning. The main content of it, the original story came off of the Hill. If you're interested in reading the rest of that, there's quite a bit to that, but that's just a portion of it. A lot of talk about the No Kings Day. I thought this was kind of interesting. This is on the Gateway Pundit this morning. It said Savannah Hernandez. She was talking to Jesse Waters the other day about the rally that she attended. And she said there were two different factions of protesters. We had the one faction who had no idea why they were there, no idea why they were protesting. They were simply programmed by CNN or whatever liberal Main Street media they've been listening to, and they were there. You had the other faction of protesters who were there to call for political violence against the opposition. So I read the signs reading, "All Nazis go to hell," and of course it was MAGA supporters, and it was ICE that were depicted as said Nazis. You also had a woman holding a sign depicting guillotine with a single MAGA hat on the bottom. So very clear that these people were either unaware of why they were marching, or they were marching on behalf of illegal immigrants and domestic terrorist organizations, Antifa. Another thing that I witnessed was people holding up signs with AOC, Bernie Sanders, Zoran Mandami, and Gavin Newsom face with big bold letters reading Antifa. So I don't know if they were trying to tell the truth about the Democrat Party, or if they were trying to water down what Antifa is, which is a violent domestic terrorist organization. That's what I saw on the ground. Another thing too, Jesse, which I thought was really interesting, is initially in New York, that's where I was, you had thousands of people that were there. So yes, there were quite a large crowd. But then, as soon as 1 or 2 hours passed by, the entire crowd completely dissipated. kind of like they were off the clock and they all disappeared. It was really baffling to me because I have covered protest extensively for years at this point, and I have never seen a protest dissipate this fast. So, just a little information there about, what she's seen as a reporter on the street and been there. A lot of questions about the numbers that attended, and I thought that myself, was, go ask some of those guys why they're here, and, it's like a lot of these protests, why are you here? Probably because they're getting paid. That might be their day job, is protesting. But anyway, I do think that the FBI is, under the direction of Kash Patel's, looking into a lot of these funding sources, and not too long I hope to hear some of the folks that, and they're not only contained to the United States. I think we'll see that funds for this type of thing and support for Antifa and other groups of anti-American is being funded by our enemies around the world. So anyway, just a couple of things there that I thought might be of interest this morning.
Yeah, and I saw this morning where Vice President Vance was visiting with the president of Israel.
Yep.
We hear a lot the way that their government works, the prime minister, but they do have a president.
Yeah.
And so he was visiting with Vance, and they were discussing, the kind of shaky grounds on this second part, because the second part of that deal, is disarming and the IDF pulling back and getting out of the certain areas of Gaza and that. But this thing is still pretty tenuous.
Yep.
It's not a
Yep.
done deal. It's going to take several phases to get there. I did see yesterday, I think the terrorists released another coffin of one of the dead hostages, and that's just so frustrating to see, because
Yeah.
how do we allow that to get to
Yeah.
that, and now we have to deal with them, and that's what you have to do at the end of a war or anything else like that. You have to deal with things like that. But it is a shame that
Yep.
they were able to push those buttons and make that happen, but now you just got to be happy with getting your family member back in a casket.
Yeah, that'd be pretty tough. And some of them I don't think have been returned yet. And supposedly they're still looking for them. The last I heard, and so that tells me that they just left from wherever they were, probably in tunnels. And as I understand it, there's perhaps hundreds, if not thousands, of miles of tunnels, under the city. It just amazes me how they can do that, and I don't know. I don't know how you do that. What do you do with that dirt you dig out of that thing? It's got to go somewhere. It looks like
Well,
there'd be piles all over everywhere.
I mean, I think that they were talking about flooding those things, opening up the
Yeah.
ocean and
Yeah.
Putting a trench in and just flooding
Yeah.
them out.
Well, they also talked about, that there were kind of like big balloons that they'd blow up, to block the water or block people or something, in certain areas. So I don't know. It's just a different world over there. I mean, some of the things you hear, you kind of wonder if they're civilized at all. And, thank goodness, for what we have here in the United States. We're sometimes a little bit uncivilized, sometimes we think, but when you look at some of these other countries and how governments and certain entities treat the people, listen to some discussion this morning about Nigeria, and we don't think much about that, but they were talking about that number of Christians that I forgot how many it was. It was in the tens of thousands that had been killed, and the number of churches that had been Christian churches that had been burnt to the ground because of the dislike for Christians in those in Nigeria. And I think it was like 18,000 churches had been burned to the ground because the Muslim community is trying to eliminate, as many Christians as they can. And so now then, I think I did see where Tommy Tuberville has introduced a bill to disallow the Muslim religion in the United States. And it'll be interesting to see who votes yes and who votes no on that when they get back together. After this government shutdown thing, that's another thing that, is they can't get together and make a decision. They can't get together and talk about it. But just know I want this money. It's all about the money. How come things always come down to this is the money? It's all about the money. That's what's going on right here in the county right now. I want that money, and I'm going to get it no matter what. And that's where the Democrats stand in Washington, D.C. right now with the closure of government, as I want this $1 trillion, and we're going to leave it shut down until I get it. It's kind of like a bunch of kids, and every one of those responsible for that ought to be thrown out of office, ought to be removed, and get somebody in there that's willing to discuss things. But that's not the way it works.
Well, and I was visiting with some folks yesterday and talking about, one of the things they talked about was some of these oil and gas people and taxes on some of that and things like that.
Yeah.
And they said, are we just anti-business now? I mean, is that just where we're at? We're just going to make it harder on people to do business here? And we saw yesterday a comment of a local business person who said they're cooling off their growth,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
with that kind of rate increase.
Well, we talk a lot about, the small homeowner, and how that might affect them. But you take, an industry like National Beef or some of the larger employees here, Southern Pioneer, some of those places that employ, lots of folks, and they get a tax bill. You're talking maybe, you might be talking $100 on a $100,000 house. Well, that's not bad. But how about those folks that have $1 million invested in properties, or $2 million or $5 million? There's some of those in this county. How's that going to affect them? They're looking at tens of thousands of dollars. Look at your farmers. We have one that says, it's like, I don't remember what, $10,000 a quarter. Well, there's a lot of these guys out in Seward County that own several quarters, which means several $10,000s of dollars. And with today's prices, of corn, they're back in about, $4 on corn, and it probably should be about 8 at least, maybe 9. Same way with wheat. Wheat's about, $3.60 maybe. That's 1955 prices. But, think of what it's going to do to our ag industry. Those guys are already hard pressed to get financing. And what is that going to do to them? When you go into your banker and say, well, I need another $100,000, to pay for the 10 quarters that I own. You think, well, 10 quarters, that's a lot. That's about 2.5 sections. And that's nothing, and no big deal in today's farming community for a farmer or rancher to own, 10 sections. Or be at least making the payments on it. But if that's true, $10,000 a quarter, that's $40,000 a section. That's $80,000 plus another 40. That's $120,000 that guy is going to have to go in and say, well, I just need to, and that's only a half, maybe the half payment, the half a year. Or even if it's $60,000, it's half of that. That's going to be hard to justify for that banker. And what is what kind of condition is that going to, I mean, what's that effect going to be on our farmers and ranchers in the county? It's just like you didn't think this through at all. I mean, gosh, you just looked at the bottom number and said, yep, that's what we got to have. Never mind how it affects who. Everybody can pay $100. Well, it's far more than that on some of these places around here, far more.
Oh, yeah. Yep. And again, we can't say that the people didn't do what they were supposed to do. They showed up.
That's right.
And that's supposed to make a difference, didn't?
No.
They did research. And you think that people would say, oh, well, we weren't aware of that. No, they just don't. They just know more about everything.
Turned a
in
deaf
that
ear.
building. Somehow in that building,
Just-
intelligence rises up, and anyone outside that building is considered lower intelligence.
And it didn't used to be that way.
It should never be that
I
way.
guarantee you it didn't used to be that way. Over the 20 years that I served, it wasn't that way. You
No.
listened and you reacted or acted. You know, usually you tried to act, you know, before.
So you see
to
how this
prevent something.
conversation, even though it goes somewhere else, it always comes back.
I know it.
And
I mean, that's-
but that's what's happening in the community. Everywhere I go, no matter what you start talking about, it comes back to this.
Yeah.
And it's just burning up the community's energy.
And 3 or 4 people are the cause of it.
Yeah.
That's the disappointing part.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, it does. I've noticed that before. I bring this stuff down here, you know, on national news, and we never get to it. We never get to it.
You did, but it
I
brings
did,
it right
but
back
then
to
here we are, back again.
because that's what happens. That's what's happening in our community. No matter who you talk to about what, it comes back to that. I can't escape it. Every group I go to, everyone talks to, I can't go to lunch that someone doesn't come over and say, please keep fighting for us. I don't know what we're supposed to do.
Yeah. Well, it's like fighting a losing battle when you present the options and they're ignored. They're not even considered. There's no, well, we'll look into that. Just like calling Conestoga and trying to set up a discussion. You think, well, maybe somebody would say, you know, that's a good idea. I believe I'll do that. Any one of those 5 commissioners could do that. You know, are you interested in sitting down and trying to work this out?
Yeah.
Any one of them has the right to do that. But no, I mean, it's not allowed, I guess.
Well, let's hope. I believe in Conestoga, and I believe in some of our
Sure.
leadership that they will be willing to make an effort. So I'm going to hold out hope.
Well, I run onto a guy yesterday that said, came over to the table when I was eating lunch and said, have you got a CDL license? I said, nope. And he said, well, I'm looking for a truck driver. He said, I'm hauling corn to Conestoga. And he said, they've got such a line over there of trucks that we were able to get 1 truck in and 1 truck out today. And he said, when I've looked at possibly doing a commercial, hiring a commercial group to haul, but they want $1,000 a truck a day. Well, that figures out to be almost, one of those trucks probably hauls 800 bushel. That's dang near $1 a bushel. But he was looking for that. The reason our farmers and ranchers from here, and right now it's corn harvest time, they're hauling that over there to that plant, and it's a benefit to all of us. And we need to keep those. We need to all be, happy. They need to be paying taxes. We need to be, helping them out, and we are. But
And I don't want people to get this idea that every abatement is bad. Abatement's a good tool
Sure.
to help get some things started like this. And believe me, when they start paying these taxes, it's going to be a big boon. It's going to be
Yeah.
plus.
well, you're not really going to know it. I mean, you're not going to notice it other than it comes in and it's used. you know, to fund the, you know, the schools, the college, the, you know, the
And
city. the
it keeps
county.
yours down.
Yeah, yeah,
Anyone who's coming in
know.
contributing another big chunk of taxes means they don't have to get it from us. And we know that oil and gas has been depleting and those values been going down.
Yeah.
So what happens? The homeowner has to make that up.
yeah. It all falls on the only one that's left that doesn't have an exemption is the homeowner. And you know, but we need to encourage that kind of thing. And the sooner we get this straightened out with Conestoga, you know, might not like it, but, you know, I don't know that any of us like what we finally settled with DCP. But now then, they're paying taxes. That's all forgotten. We're using the benefit of that money that they are paying. And we're not using a bunch of lawyers that cost $500,000 to, you know, to continue to fight that.
And I did the
And,
math on
You know,
I did the math on that. You know, that's like $1 million of a $95 million value, if you do the math, to find out what their mill rate is. I mean, they're contributing a good chunk.
that's right. Yeah. And look at the other thing that they're doing. They're, you know, giving our economic boost. They're a great economic boost because they're turning that corn into ethanol and marketing it, you know, across the country. And that's a return, that's a benefit, that's how Conestoga pays their taxes, you know. So, but get this thing settled. My gosh, quit dinking around and doing nothing. I mean, I just don't understand why you won't at least talk.
Yeah, by my quick math here, with the new tax increase, you know, DCP is going to be paying just the county portion, not the school, you know, not the college, just the county portion, you know, is 1.3 million. That's how much the county gets just from DCP. Don't tell me they're not paying their fair share. They're paying a good chunk.
That's right.
And you know, whatever the value comes in, Conestoga is going to be paying a good chunk, and we need to be looking at maybe some of the other industries, make sure that they're in line, and that, and maybe that means approaching some others and sitting down at the table with them and saying things are going to go up, but let's talk about it.
Yeah.
And I bet you the reason why we're going to be the example is because we're the only one not willing to talk. Other counties must be willing to go sit down with their folks and reach an agreement.
Well, I haven't heard any other counties that's having this much difficulty. You know, and I don't know, maybe they're waiting on us to see where we go. I know they're watching and they're listening and they're reading, you know, but when they see that our commissioners are just sitting here and as far as I know, you know, turning a deaf ear to the public and turning a deaf ear to any possible negotiations with a taxpayer on a you know, a request or a reduction in their taxes or a settlement of how we can go forward from here. You don't hear that from any other county but just us. And that's not a good spotlight to have on us because, you know, if a company is looking to locate here or a small business or, you know, even somebody living right here in town that's thinking about opening a cookie shop, you know, are they going to do that? Well, let's look at the taxes. I think I'll just pass.
If they do, please consider a banana nut bread cookie. It's a good cookie.
For $6.
I'll pay it. I will pay it.
Or maybe 10 by now. I don't know.
That's the best cookie I have ever had in my life. That is good stuff. And I hope Jamie does that.
There you
if,
go.
If Jamie will put together that, I may get outbid.
Well, you certainly give them something to think about because they was both thinking about the same thing, finding that recipe.
I may get outbid, but I would go try to get me 2 dozen. And let me tell you, these aren't cookies. These were cookies. You
More
know,
like a pie.
it was, and I tried my best on that ride home to just nibble on that thing and put it away and stretch it out as long as I could. Well, we don't want to leave you without giving you your squeaky clean car wash weather report. Today's going to be sunny with a high near 71. South-southwest. See how we went back around to the cookie?
There
the,
you go.
The pumpkin
we
festival.
finally got there. You can't never tell where we might start or where we might end up.
Trump calls it the weave, you know, and we weaved right back to the beginning. This weekend, by the way, Sunday, 2 to 4 p.m. over at the 1650 Northwestern Avenue, the Friends Church Family Center. But it's not for the Friends Church, it's community-wide. This is if you want to compete, bring 2 dozen cookies and then 3 off to the side for the judges, put it together in a nice package. They'll auction that off and that money will go to help Stepping
If
Stone
you really
Shelter.
want to compete, bring your checkbook.
Yeah, win.
There you go.
Win a bid and that. But your Squeakling Cars weather report, today's going to be sunny with a high near 71. Tonight mostly clear with a low around 38, northeast wind around 6 miles per hour. Looking ahead to the rest of your week, Thursday, talking about a high of 70. Friday, a high of 68. Saturday, chance of showers, high of 63. Sunday, 70. Monday, 68. And Tuesday, 60. That's your weather outlook, and that's the news and views you can use on the high plains. Wednesday, October 22nd, 2025. We'll be back with you tomorrow morning at 7:30. Until then, this Old Later Times with Jim Rice saying when you live in Liberal,
Or Memphis, Tennessee.
there's no place like home. Get your cookies ready and get them in the contest. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Have a great day, everybody.